He's an Elite Series rookie from Oklahoma, John Soka.
My view of a smallmouth bass. I love brownbacks. Okay, so we are at St. Clair. We're on the Michigan side, just above Detroit. Actually, like in a suburb of Detroit. And we are prepared for our 7th Bassmaster Elite Season event of the year. We're at St. Clair, trying to get some gas. Basically, we're in Detroit, huh? Like the north side of Detroit. This place is extremely unique, extremely cool. Practice went well. I did only practice for 2 days. I've never been here before. I didn't pre-practice. I did do some studying. It's known that this is going to be a potentially open water live scoping deal, which I feel comfortable with. Day one, I jumped a lot. And if a spot wasn't producing, I didn't wait for it. I went till I ran into them, and I collided with them several times on day one. Barely, but you gotta play those things. Total weight was going to be in that 19 to 20 pound class of best 5. Well, ready. So I kind of felt something like I'd figured it a little bit out. That puts me into day 2 practice. I went down to a different section of the lake, in the section that's known, for bigger fish showing up, because you need to have that 21 to 22 pound class of fish to be able to really do something special here.
When was the last time that we did that? It was so long ago. It was so long ago. At a big scale, it showed. Which was so long ago. Back in the days when we were late on the bed without any clothes. Now we cover up, falling and out of love with people we don't even wanna know. I miss you. It's been so It's been so I miss you, wanna kiss you, but I can't anymore. It's been so
After more than 8 hours of jumping, I really hadn't collided with anything much better than what I already found. Matter of fact, numbers were lower, and my bigger fish weren't much, I don't even think bigger than my day 1 fish. So towards the end of the day, I did try to jump in the river and get into some of the current, and I caught fish. But nothing stuck out to me that was just like, hey, this is amazing. This is what you really, really need to do. my decision to not practice on day 3 had nothing to do with my not having the competitive spirit, not trying to do my best here. It has a lot to do with the errors that I've had this season. It's not not unknown that I've had a rough or difficult season, and I'm overcoming a lot of things outside of the fishing world that we've been dealing with. And so what I've allowed those things to do is complicate my thought process, my mindset, and I've either tried to do too much during practice or make too long or risky runs or just push the envelope way too hard. Say I'm swinging for the fence, man. I've been swinging for the fence all year long with my stinking eyes closed, like not even keeping my eye on the ball. And so my decision to not practice on day 3 has a lot to do with what happened on St. Lawrence last week. I went and fished the Open on St. Lawrence, and I found some mega giants long ways away from takeoff. And I knew it was risky to go to them, but I also found just a conservative amount of fish closer to takeoff. Well, day 1, I run past them, and I bomb on day 1. Catch only 12.5 pounds. Day 2, I got nothing to lose, so I go to my fish, and what I thought was a 15-pound limit ended up being an 18.5-pound limit. And, you know, I'm starting to understand that, hey, some of this time I need to keep myself just around fish and keep catching fish and do, for me right now, you know, concentrate on less. I don't mind a 20-mile, 30-minute run, but keep myself in that vicinity of takeoff, not trying to do these risky things where I'm rushing, only getting 4 or 5 hours or is it even feasible that my boat can't even make it back because of a weather change or something, things that I can't control. And so this helps put things back into my control. I've decided on day 3 to just relax. I stayed home, took care of laundry, washed the truck, went and picked up some things, you know, just various things. And then I took my time to get my tackle ready. I went through my boat, got everything organized that I need, and all my rods got nice clean line on it, and I didn't do it in a rush. My knots were done early in the morning when I'm just, you know, awake and ready to go. What do you got for 4.2s, Brad?
I don't have it. That's the only thing I got. It's right there.
3.6 green?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Let me throw you another option. Got one more bag left. There's only 3 in there. Yeah, you know, it's perfect. How about getting a bikini and making some money on the side of this road? You know, basically the way I practice is I took a big section of the lake. It's not a little section. And I circled it, a shallow rim pass first. And I'd drop every 5 to 10 miles, sometimes sooner, sometimes a little further. And I just taste test. Now if I caught a fish, I put a waypoint. If I caught a 3-pounder, I put 3-pounder. If I caught a 4-pounder, I put 4-pounder on my waypoint. And then I did an inner loop, which was a little bit deeper. And then I did another inner loop, which is, some of it's not much deeper in St. Clair, but it's further offshore. And by the end of the day, it was very apparent that every time I hit this certain part of the loop, let's call it, you know, 5 o'clock on a clock, I don't know if that circles a clock. Every time I hit that area, I would get bit. And, you know, by the end of the day, I had seen some fish close to 4 pounds. And that's what you need. You need consistent 4-pounders and then hopefully get into a 5-pound class fish. So, I mean, ounces mean a lot here. So the difference between a 375 and 3.5 pounders, by the time you got 5 of them, you know, that's 2.25 pounds, guys. So, you know, when you're talking about the difference between catching some 4-pounders versus 3.5, you know, now, you know, we're pushing that 2.5 pounds is what I'm getting at for that. So, you know, I've got a decision to make tomorrow. I'm going to stay closer. I'm probably within what feels like a 15-minute run, max 20-minute run from takeoff. And I'm going to stick and live around those fish. And I'm going to move, the smallmouth move. I'm going to hop around until I collide with them. And hopefully, we're going for numbers tomorrow. We're going to put a lot of fish in the boat. And hopefully, some bigger fish start showing up. And I can figure out a way to trigger bigger fish or how they're positioned a little bit different. So that's practice, guys. That's kind of a wrap of everything that's been going on. So let you guys know a little bit also, I went to Champlain 2 weeks ago on practice for 3 days before St. Lawrence. Taking this serious, focusing on my game, focusing on my drag system on my reels, what length of rods, what action of rods, what hook, what line size, what knot, what braid. You know, you do lose smallmouth, it happens. But if everything I can do to land as many of those fish, and my landing percentage is 100%. St. Lawrence River, day 2, jerk baiting, landed 100% of fish. If you can do that, guaranteed at the end of the day, it's going to help you in 10, 20, 30 points positions up. The goal for this event, not even going to be shy about it. Bradley and I have talked about this. Yeah, I'd love to come out here and top 10 this thing, show the world that I'm the fisherman that I know I am to be. But really, a win for me is over these next 3 events. If I can cash a check in these next 3 events, I think, and work a little bit on my procedures, how I'm attacking these lakes, my anxiety level versus my stress level versus my calmness and peace of mind. Those are things that go into catching fish that we don't even really talk too much about. And that's what I need to work on. And so that's what I've done here. And I hope going in this, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I think that 17 pounds is going to be pretty doable for almost everybody in the field. So I think it's going to take, that 18 is going to be about average. I think it's going to take about that 19 to start breaking into the top 50% of the field. Smallmouth or nomadic. That's the biggest, most rare thing for people. But that plays a little bit in my advantage. Nomadic, in that they like to roam and they like to get on bait and they'll move a lot. So there is not a lot of cover out here that is like a structure oriented, like a rock that's always there. There are some drop spots. There are some harder bottoms. There are some shell areas. There are current, and I think these fish orient more to 2 things: the bait that they're feeding on, the current, and potentially the third that's not talked about a lot is light penetration. I don't know that I have it all figured out, but there are days where a bright sunny day, the ideal conditions is a bright sunny day with a little bit of wind, and those fish will feed and move around and they'll go a lot. So unlike a largemouth that will pretty much stay a little bit more put. With that being said, I've spent a lot of time in the wintertime, especially over the last few years, utilizing my live scope to chase down roaming fish, open water fish. And that's what this is. These are open water fish that are, making moves into an area, and that area may have alewives, it may have perch, it may have, I don't even know what all they're feeding on down there, to be honest with you. There's a lot of times I just see bait, balls, and different things. So, but it does seem like they like to be in and around current, but not necessarily directly into it. And it doesn't have to be the current that's blowing 5 miles an hour. A lot of it could just be a constant wind current, whether it comes from the south and the north. If you got a point, and when I say a point, a rounded area that just always has a current line because the wind blows one way or another, it seems like they like to settle down in those areas where it's like the food that brings the food to them almost. So those are the things that you're looking for. You're looking for like the calmer water off the current, and those seam lines are very important. And it could be the finest tuned seam line that you really don't even know is going on until you're kind of sitting out there with a boat and take a reckoning that, hey, when I cast over here, my bait comes this way. When I cast over here, my bait goes this way, and my boat just sits still no matter what's going on. So there's little things like that, little bitty details that as you get out and settle in and around those smallmouth and actually run into them, move around until you run into them, if you're lucky and if you're good, you'll figure out those little nuances throughout the day, and that'll be the difference between catching, 3-pounders and potentially 4-pounders.